Have you ever loved someone so deeply that even their silence could break you? That was me, José Daniel. I used to believe love could survive anything until the night her silence finally spoke louder than her words. Damaris used to smile when I came home. She'd greet me with that soft, "Hey, you're back," the kind of line that makes even the worst day disappear. But lately, she didn't even look up from her phone. Her smile had turned into a sigh, her warmth into cold politeness. That evening, I tried one last time. I leaned close to her, hoping she'd remember who we once were. "Mi amor," I said gently. "I just need a little of your love." She moved away. "Not now, José, I'm tired." Tired? I tried to laugh, pretending it didn't hurt, but she didn't even meet my eyes. That's when I realized you can share the same bed and still feel miles apart. I asked softly, "Are you feeling okay? Or is it me?" She sighed, "Don't make a scene, not tonight." That's when I stopped talking, because sometimes silence is the only language left between two people who used to understand everything. I stood there for a while, waiting for her to look at me, just once. She didn't. Instead, she grabbed her bag and said, "I'm going out with a friend." And that one sentence hit harder than 100 arguments ever could. "A friend?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked back with eyes that had already moved on. "Don't start, José. You don't trust me anymore?" And just like that, she left. No goodbye, no explanation, only the sound of the door closing, a sound that would echo in my head for days. For a while, I just stood there. The house felt empty, and in that silence, I realized something cruel. You never know the exact moment love dies. It doesn't leave suddenly. It fades away piece by piece until all that's left is habit. Moments later, a quiet voice broke the silence. "Sir?" It was Alejandra, the young housekeeper. She stood near the kitchen doorway holding a bottle of disinfectant she couldn't open. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to listen." I smiled, even though my heart was bleeding. "It's all right. Every couple argues." I took the bottle, twisted the cap open easily, and handed it back. Her eyes lifted briefly. Kind eyes, honest eyes. "Thank you, sir." As she walked away, I realized something strange. Even in my pain, helping someone else gave me a sense of peace. Maybe kindness was my only way to survive the loneliness. Later that night, I sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at a cup of coffee gone cold. I kept asking myself questions no one could answer. When did we start living like strangers? When did my wife stop seeing me? And why? Did I still love her, even now? Across town, the answer was already waiting, because that same night, while I sat there holding on to hope, Damaris was meeting Paul, the man she used to love before me, the man who also happened to be my boss. The meeting wasn't by accident. Paul had been sending her messages for weeks. "Just coffee," he'd written. "Just to catch up," he'd promised. She told herself it was harmless, but as soon as she saw him again, that old dangerous smile, she knew it wasn't. "Damaris," he said, leaning closer, "you still look as beautiful as ever." She laughed nervously, hiding her guilt behind that same smile that used to belong to me. "I'm married now, Paul." He didn't flinch. "And? Does that mean you don't love me anymore?" Her lips trembled. "That's not fair." Paul leaned back, confident. "Fairness never mattered to you when we were together." The tension hung between them like smoke. Every word, every silence carried history, the kind that destroys whatever's left of loyalty. "I shouldn't have come," she whispered. "Then why did you?" he asked. She couldn't answer, because deep down, she didn't know herself anymore. He smiled, that cruel kind of smile that knows it's already winning. "I never stopped thinking about you," he said, "not once." She looked away. "Please don't." He took her hand. "Just one last time, Damaris. See me, remember us." And for a second, she did. just 1 second too long. Back home, I looked at the clock. 10:47 p.m. Her friend was running late. The street outside was quiet, but inside me, everything was breaking apart. They say betrayal doesn't start with lies. It starts with distance. With every unanswered call, every empty glance, every moment when the person you love walks away and doesn't look back. That night, I made a promise to myself. I wouldn't chase her. Not anymore. But I would find out the truth, no matter how much it hurt. Because I could feel it now, as clear as the moonlight pouring through our window. Something was wrong. Something was changing. And soon, everything, absolutely everything, would never be the same again. The morning after that argument felt like walking through a house that had already forgotten me. Damaris moved around quietly, not saying a word. She poured herself coffee, checked her phone, and smiled. But not at me. I watched her for a moment, wondering if she even noticed I was there. "Good morning," I said softly. She didn't answer, just a sigh, a shake of her head, and then the same cold phrase I'd come to know too well. "Ask Alejandra. That's what she's here for." I froze for a second. All I wanted was a clean shirt. But in that small moment, something inside me broke again. The woman who once loved ironing my shirts now couldn't even look at me. I hesitated, then called out, "Alejandra." She appeared from the hallway wearing a modest blouse and apron, her dark hair tied neatly. Her hands were still wet from washing dishes, but her expression was calm, gentle even. "Yes, sir?" I need to get this ironed for work," I said awkwardly. She nodded without hesitation, took the shirt carefully, and plugged in the iron. For a moment, I just watched her work. Steam rose in soft white clouds. Her movements were precise, almost graceful. Every wrinkle smoothed with care. There was something peaceful about it, something pure. "You're very good at this," I said quietly. She smiled. "My mother taught me. Everything has its process, even ironing." Her answer surprised me. She wasn't just doing chores, she was thinking. It was rare, that mix of humility and intelligence. I sat down nearby, trying to make conversation. "Do you study?" I asked. "Yes, sir. I'm finishing my law degree. Only one exam left." I blinked. "Law? You're a law student?" She nodded shyly. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" Her smile faded. "Because you never asked." Those words hit harder than I expected. Because she was right, not just about her, but about everything. I'd stopped asking, stopped listening, stopped seeing the people around me, even the one I married. "Would you like me to teach you?" Alejandra asked suddenly. "To iron," she clarified quickly, embarrassed. I chuckled. "Yes, I probably should learn that." She laughed too, softly, like a sound that didn't belong in this sad house. When she finished, she handed me the shirt, perfectly pressed. "Here you go, sir." "It's flawless," I said. Her cheeks turned pink. "It's just practice." But I saw pride in her eyes, and for a brief moment I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Later that afternoon, Damaris was on the treadmill in her gym clothes when her phone rang. Paul's name flashed on the screen. She hesitated, then answered. He was charming, persuasive, the kind of man who always made sin sound like logic. "Let me see you," he said. "It's wrong," she whispered. "So was leaving me," he replied. She paused, and that pause said everything. The next day, I found myself at the university where Alejandra studied. She was waiting near the church across the street, just like she said she would. She waved when she saw me, her smile pure and unassuming. "Thank you for coming," she said. I shrugged. "You said you'd teach me something." "I did, but maybe it's not just law you need to learn." We sat down on a bench. She opened her notebook, filled with underlined notes and highlighted words. Her handwriting was careful, organized, much like her personality. As she explained legal terms, I found myself staring at her, not in attraction, but admiration. She was young, but her mind carried strength. The kind that doesn't shout, it simply shines. At one point, I asked, "Why law?" She smiled. "Because truth deserves someone to defend it." That line, it stayed with me. Truth deserves someone to defend it. That evening, as I returned home, I saw Damaris stepping out of a black car. Paul was in the driver's seat. When she noticed me, she froze. He waved casually, like a man who enjoyed crossing lines. She hurried inside. "Who was that?" I asked quietly. "A friend," she said again. The same word, the same lie. Only this time she couldn't look me in the eyes. Later that night, as rain began to fall, Alejandra called me. Her voice trembled slightly. José, thank you for helping me today." "You don't have to thank me," I said. "You're the one teaching me." She hesitated. "Still, I want to say something. You're a good man. You just forgot how to believe in yourself." I sat there, holding the phone in silence. Her words weren't romantic. They were honest, and that made them powerful. Meanwhile, across the city, Damaris was sitting in Paul's car again. The windshield wipers moved slowly like a heartbeat in the dark. He reached out, his voice low. "Why fight it? We both know what we want." She closed her eyes, torn between guilt and desire. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. "If I see you again, I'll have to give up the life I built." He smiled faintly. "Then give it up." The rain fell harder. Two choices, two different worlds. One built on loyalty, the other on lies, were colliding. That night, as I lay in bed, I felt the storm outside matching the one inside me. I thought about Alejandra's words. Truth deserves someone to defend it. And I made a decision. No more excuses. No more pretending everything was fine. If there was truth hidden somewhere in this mess, I was going to find it, even if it destroyed me, because deep down, I already knew. The woman I loved had changed. But maybe, just maybe, fate had sent me someone to remind me what honesty still looked like, and that someone was Alejandra. Rain has a way of making truth impossible to hide. That night, it poured, and for the first time in months, I didn't run from it. I was sitting at the table waiting for Damaris to come home. The clock ticked past midnight. Her phone was off. My coffee had gone cold again, like everything else between us. When she finally walked in, her hair was damp, her perfume too strong. "Where were you?" I asked softly. She didn't answer, just tossed her coat on the couch and said, "Don't start, José." I didn't start, because the storm already had. The next afternoon, I met Alejandra again. We sat inside a small cafe near the university. She was studying, her books open, eyes full of purpose. But she looked up when she saw my face. "You didn't sleep," she said. "No," I replied, "and I think my wife didn't either." Alejandra hesitated. "Sometimes, the hardest truth is the one we already know." I tried to smile. "How do you do that?" "Do what?" "Speak like every word matters." She blushed slightly. Maybe because they do. We spent hours there, talking about everything except what really hurt, until the rain stopped, and the silence between us became heavier than the storm itself. A few days later, Alejandra invited me to her house to review her final exam. Her apartment was small, tidy, filled with books and soft light. She made tea, nervous but kind. We sat at her table surrounded by open law manuals. Her voice was calm, her explanations clear. And for the first time in a long while, I felt understood. "You'd be a great teacher," she said suddenly. I chuckled. "And you'd be a great lawyer." "I hope so." "You will be," I said, "because you believe in truth." She smiled. "And what about you? What do you believe in, José?" I paused. I used to believe in love. Now I believe in proof. Her eyes softened. Then you're closer to truth than you think. Just then, someone knocked hard on the door. 3 sharp hits, urgent, angry. Alejandra froze. When she opened the door, Paul stood there, soaked from the rain. "Why didn't you answer my messages?" he snapped. She took a step back. "Paul, not here." He ignored her, stepping inside. His eyes landed on me, and his smile, that arrogant, confident smile, returned. "Well, well," he said, "the devoted husband. I didn't expect to see you here." Alejandra tried to speak, but I raised my hand. "Leave her alone, Paul." He laughed. You're telling me what to do. Don't forget who you work for." "I haven't," I said calmly. "But maybe you should remember who you betrayed." His smile faded. "Careful, José. You don't want to start something you can't finish." "Funny," I replied. I was about to say the same thing. For a moment, no one moved. The tension was thick enough to cut. "Get out," I said finally. Paul leaned closer. "You really think she cares about you?" He looked at Alejandra. Tell him how we—" She interrupted sharply. "Enough, Paul, leave." He stared at her, furious, then at me, disgusted. "This isn't over." He slammed the door behind him. Alejandra sat down, trembling. "I'm so sorry, José." "Don't be," I said. "He just told me everything I needed to know." That night, I went home early. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Damaris was in the living room, nervously folding clothes that didn't need folding. "José," she started. "We need to talk." I nodded. "We do." Before she could speak, there was another knock on the door, and when I opened it, Paul was standing there, again. For a second, nobody breathed. Damaris went pale. I looked at him, then at her. Everything connected in one painful instant. Her perfume, his arrogance, the silence between us. It all made sense now. "I can explain," she said, voice shaking. I nodded slowly. "You don't have to. I already know." Paul smirked. "Guess the game's up." "Get out," I said quietly. He shrugged, dropped a few papers on the table, and left with a final cruel smile. When the door closed, Damaris started to cry. "It wasn't supposed to happen this way," she said. "I know," I whispered. "It never is." I walked to the window and stared at the rain again. It was falling harder than ever, and for the first time, I didn't feel angry, just empty. Days later, the house felt different. No more arguments, no more pretending, just quiet, the kind that heals instead of hurts. Alejandra came by to drop off her law exam results. She'd passed, with honors. Her face glowed with joy. "Congratulations," I said, smiling for real this time. "It's thanks to you," she replied. "No," I said softly, "it's thanks to truth." We sat outside under the morning sun. The rain had finally stopped. The world felt new again, not because everything was fixed, but because I'd stopped living in lies. She looked at me gently. "So, what now?" "Now?" I smiled. "Now I teach someone how to iron shirts properly." She laughed, that warm, honest laugh that had once saved me. In the end, Damaris left. No drama, no hatred. Just a quiet goodbye and the sound of her car fading into the distance. Alejandra stayed, as a friend, a reminder, a second chance. And me? I learned that betrayal doesn't end you. It only strips away what never belonged in your life. Sometimes the person who hurts you most is the reason you finally find yourself again. She betrayed me to her boss, but that day everything changed. Not for her, for me. At the end of every heartbreak, there's always a quiet truth waiting to be found. So before you scroll away, let's take a moment to reflect together. First, betrayal doesn't always come from enemies. Sometimes it comes from the ones we love most. But remember, their actions define them, not you. Second, when life breaks your trust, don't lose your values with it. The pain will fade, but your integrity must never fade with it. Third, Silence can destroy love faster than anger ever will. So speak honestly, even when it hurts, because truth heals what lies destroy. Fourth, forgiveness isn't weakness, it's closure. You don't forgive because they deserve peace. You forgive so you can finally rest. And finally, remember this. Sometimes the person who betrays you only clears the space for someone who will truly value your heart. Because in every ending, there's a beginning, and in every broken trust, a stronger version of you is born. Now tell me in the comments, do you think betrayal destroys love or simply reveals who truly loved you? I'd love to hear your thoughts below.